All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. Welcome to Python 102, session 5. Today we're gonna go for about an hour, and then at 4 o'clock we'll have the skills test for 102, and then we'll take a break, about a 15-minute break after that, and then we'll come back and have skills test for 101 for those who wanna take the 101 skills test. I've updated all the code for Python 102. So that's here. So this includes session code for sessions session 1 through session 5, including today's code for today. The code for today is fully fleshed out, and also uses this text file, birthday file. So for today, you'll need to download the session 5 Jupyter Notebooks file, as well as this birthday file .txt. Also, I don't think I updated the session videos here, but on the on our Data Science Lab channel, I've updated videos. Here's we have the KIMEP Data Science Lab playlist. So this includes all the sessions for Python 101 and up through session 4 for Python 102. And then after today, obviously, I'll upload the 5th one. So everything is current and up to date. Also in Python, I think, or sorry, on the Moodle, I think we have the link here to the YouTube channel. So you can, I think if you just click here, it has all it takes you straight to this KIMEP Data Science Lab channel, right? Okay. So very quickly, I want to, for session 4, there was a question about whether we can use the class, the number guessing game, to call itself to play again. And I just, right after class, I just realized, oh, we could just make a replay function and reset the game to call play again. So I just want to show that because we kind of left it hanging at the end of class last time. So last week we made this number game, and where the game has a lower limit and upper limit and a secret number. And in the initiating function, I call, we can input the lower limit and the upper limit. We can ask the user to input those. And then we also, we double check to make sure that the lower limit is not larger than the upper limit. If not, then we turn the game on. We start with round 1. We instantiate the upper lower limit, and we also create a new random number. And then we play the game. We call the game. So like calling the class allows us to instantiate the game and also calls it for the very first time. And then if you look in the play function here, when the game is on in round 0, then you choose a number, right? And then while the game is on, you keep choosing numbers. And then once you, and this becomes false once you correctly guess the number. Right? And then if you guess a number, we say you guess a secret number in however many tries. And then what I added here was a function called to reset. So the reset is another function where you ask after the first play, you output, do you want to play the game again? Right? And then the user can say yes or no. And if they say anything but yes, then you just say, see ya, it's over. But if they say yes, then you say, awesome, let's play again. And then you can instantiate everything again, right? So I'm basically, here I'm just copying and pasting the initiation function, right? So I could probably just call the initiation function again, but basically you're just starting the game over again, and then you play, right? So replay is calling play, and then when you're playing, play calls replay, right? So they call each other recursively until you say, no, I don't want to play again, and then it ends, right? So just to show you how this works, we'll call the game. Oops. Am I still waiting for something? Maybe, okay. Okay, so let's just define this in the number game. The lower limit, let's say 1, the upper limit 10. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 10, 5. Congratulations, we guessed the secret number is 5 in one try. Do you want to play again? Yes. Awesome, let's play again. And it just, so that launched, play just launched replay and asked if we want to play again, and it's instantiating the game again, right? So lower limit 1, upper limit 10, 5. Okay, so now last time the secret number was 5 and we guessed it on the first try, right? When we've reinstantiated, now it's a different secret number. You've guessed too low, 6, 7, 8, 9. Congratulations, you guessed it in 5 tries. Do you want to play again? No. See ya, thanks for playing. So this is one of the things one of the main ideas, I guess there are two ideas in session 4. The first one is object state, right? Which is, we talked about this quite a bit last time, is the game on or off, right? And which round are we in? Like keeping track of the round, keeping track if the game is still playing or not, right? So those are some different ways that we keep track of object state. The second one, which I didn't communicate very clearly, and why I want to cover it again today, is recursion. And recursion is a situation where a function calls itself, or a pair of functions are calling each other, right? And this can go kind of infinitely, right, until there's some kind of a stopping criteria, right? So in this game, we set it up so that play calls replay, right? And actually, we could have just built that into the single function so that play calls play calls play calls play, right? But in this case, we have two functions, and they just kind of recursively call each other until there's a stopping condition, right? So that's recursion. Recursion it's one of the most elusive kind of concepts in computer programming, right? When a function can call itself. It's extremely useful for, like, if you're doing, for example, numerical analysis, if you're trying to calculate infinite series, right? And you have one element in the series, and then you pass that element to the series function, and it calculates the next one, and calculates the next one, calculates the next one, right? Recursively. So if you're dealing with like infinite kind of series, and of course you can cut that off after a certain number of iterations or some other criteria. It's also useful like in this, where you're trying to manage kind of a program, but you don't know how many times you need to call it. So, okay, that's all I wanted to say about recursion. It's a fun, and complicated and kind of mind-warping concept that you'll get into in more advanced algorithms classes. So that's session 4. Today, session 5, we're going to create a birthday reminder email. So what this will entail is we're going to have a list of birthdays. People, friends or whoever with the birthday, we'll make a list. And then we're going to create a class, ultimately, that does imports the birthday file. It will check if any of the birthdays. So this is a class which you could call like that you could automate to call like every day, right? And then it will check every day. What this class would do is it would check your list of birthdays and see, are any of those birthdays today? And if so, it'll send you an email reminder that so-and-so's birthday is today, right? So that's what this is. Obviously, like you could, this is kind of a super like simple version of like a reminder. Here we're going to interact with the Gmail server. So you can use your own Gmail account if you want to do this, right? And you'll actually, today you'll actually be able to send yourself emails through Python, right? But this is important because if you look at, let's see, W3 Schools, Python tutorials, you'll see. So here you have your basic kind of, getting started, syntax, comments, variables, all the basic things that we did in Python 101, function, and then some of the things we did in 102, functions, lambda, array, classes, objects, right? So, but if you get down to the bottom here, for example, here, Python MySQL, Python MongoDB, these are connectors which allow you to use Python to connect to some other server, right? So you might want to connect to a MySQL database that's on some server so that you can update values, right? Maybe you're writing a Python script that sits between a website and a database. And the users, your users are on your app or on the website, and they submit a query, and then you parse that query and you submit it to your you connect to the MySQL server and you submit that query, and then you take the results from that query and you format them and send them back to the user, right? So this happens all the time, right? Anytime you go onto like a website, an e-commerce site, or any kind of site and run a query, right? Anytime you go to Google and you put in a keyword, right, to search, some language is sending that keyword to their database, right? Making the query, getting the response, and then piping it back to you, right? So that's one thing that you can do with a connector, is interact with a database, right? But also for communications, right? You might want to query, not query. You might want to interact with email servers to automate emails. You can also interact with cell phone providers, right? And you could actually send yourself like an SMS message, right? Or something like that. I didn't want to do that today because that's a little bit trickier, right? But fortunately, like these, Gmail makes it fairly easy to interact with Python. So that's what we'll do today. Okay, so the first step here is to import a birthday file and to craft a reminder message. Right? So here I write the file name birthday file, and if you look here in my code, in my folder, I have this birthday file text file, and if I open it up, you can see I'm going to format it a particular way, okay? You can format it however you like. This is how I'm formatting it because I'm going to parse it later, right? So the way we're formatting it is the month and the day, two numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the day, a semicolon, the first name, a semicolon, and the last name, right? And then if I want to add somebody else, let's add somebody else. Today is November 11th, right? So let's see, who else has a birthday today? Actually, it is Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday today. Oh, Demi Moore. Okay, great. Who do we know on? Oh, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Oh yeah, gotta go with him. Okay. So Fyodor Dostoevsky is also on our list, right? Okay, so I have 2 birthdays here. I'm going to put a third one just to show you that I'm not grabbing everything, right? Sorry, 09. So this is November 9th. Who has a November 9th birthday? Anybody we know? Oh, Carl Sagan. Nice. Okay. Okay. So I've got 3 birthdays on my birthday file, right? And you could update this. You could add more if you want. Okay, save it. Okay, so this is the name of the birthday file. I'm going to open this file and save it as file in. I don't need to put a path here because they're already in the same directory. But if that file was in a different directory, you'd have to append a path in front of it, right? Then I'm going to use the read lines function to read in the lines from the birthday list, and then I'll output the birthday list. So let me run that. And now I've got Leonardo DiCaprio, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Carl Sagan, and we've got those nasty carriage returns afterwards, right? Because we entered, right? Put an enter. So let's deal with those. First of all, I want to split these, each of these using I want to split the on this semicolon, right? Actually, maybe I'm gonna just use this list comprehension. So for every birthday in birthday list, I'm going to use strip. And strip is a function that operates on strings, which removes all the white space, right, on either the left or the right. And white space here includes carriage returns. So not just like spaces, but also this like \n or \t or \r, anything that's, so if I run this again, they should be clean. So I'll run it again. Okay, see, now I don't have those carriage returns at the end, right? So that's what strip does, kind of cleans these strings on the left and right side. Okay, so I'm passing these strings now, and I'm going to do another list comprehension. And for each string, I'm going to split it on the semicolon. And split, if I take a string with semicolons in it and I split on semicolons, that's going to give me a list, right? In this case, it's going to give me a list with 3 items because I've got 2 semicolons. So the resulting data structure is going to be a list of lists, right? Okay, so I've got a list of lists where the first item is the birthday, the 0 index is the birthday, the second is the first name, and the index 1 is the name, first name, and index 2 is the last name. Okay, now I want to create a list. Sorry, I've done this, right, just kind of here. Now I want to put that in a function. So I'm going to create the function import birthdays where I input the file name, right? And I'm just copying and pasting everything that I just did, except I have to add this one too. So I'm just copying and pasting everything I did, but I'm just putting it inside of a function, which I'm defining as import birthdays. And then I'm going to return birthday list, right? So there's the function. I'm going to just define, so now I'm going to run the function on file name and save that as B and then output B. So there, it gives me the list, right? So that just confirms that my function is working. Okay. So why are we doing this? We're building up to a class, but we're building each of the functions separately, right? So I built that function, it does it, and later we'll copy and paste that function into the class, right? Now, the other thing that we wanted to do in step 1 was craft a reminder message. So here, I'm going to craft the reminder message in this way. So this is the message that I'm actually going to send myself by email, okay? So for craft message, I'm going to define a function craft message where I input a list of birthdays. And the message is going to say, the following people have birthdays today. And for this particular application that we're doing today, we're going to put a white space, a carriage return in front of this, right? I'll explain why later, but we'll put a carriage return here. And then I'm going to append my message with with whichever birthdays I'm putting in and inputting into the function, right? So this is the kind of beginning of my message. And then for each birthday in birthday list that I passed in, I'm going to message equals message. I'm going to append plus skip a line, tab over bday 1 and bday 2. So what is bday index 1 and what is bday index 2? It's going to be, so 0 is the date. So 1 and 2 are going to be first name and last name. Yeah. So, and then if I pass in this list with 3 birthdays, then it's for birthday and birthday list, they're going to be, it's going to run that 3 times, right? And it'll append, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Carl Sagan. So, and then it's going to return that message. So this function doesn't print anything. It just, but it returns the string with all the appended birthdays. So I'll run this. Okay, so now I'm going to run that function. I'm going to pass in the full birthday list, this birthday list here with all 3, which I created before. And then I'm going to print it out. So this function, craft message, is not checking whether these birthdays are today or not, right? It's just naively printing out the first name and the last name of anybody who I enter into this function, right? So the part of like selecting, double checking if these birthdays are today or not today, that's going to be done by something else, right? Okay, so here, right? And so the following people have birthdays today: Leonardo DiCaprio, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Carl Sagan, right? Obviously, Carl Sagan's birthday is not today, so at some point I'm going to need to filter that out, right? And only select today's birthdays. But at least we know whatever birthdays we pass in, this function is crafting the appropriate message, right? So this is the email. This is the message that I'm going to email myself as a reminder. Okay, timeout from the message crafting part. Now let's try to send an email from Python to Gmail, okay? So to do this, I'm going to import 2 libraries, smtplib and SSL, which is the secure server library. So here are some parameters for the start TLS. For this, to interact with the Gmail's email server, you need to access port 587. This won't be on the test, right? So port 587, and Gmail's SMTP server is this. So this part, the port 587 and the SMTP Gmail, you need to leave the same, right? Then the sender email and the receiver email. This is where, if you have 2 Gmail accounts, my KIMEP is also a Gmail account, right? Our kimep.kz is on the Gmail server. So you can send yourself, you can send or receive to your KIMEP account, that's fine. But you could also, if you have a Gmail account, you could also send and receive from the same account if you want to double check. I have 2 Gmail accounts, my KIMEP one and my personal one. So I'm going to send from my KIMEP account and I'm going to receive on my personal account. So this, okay. You could use this. You could run this function, password. So the last piece of information we need is the password for your email account, right? And you could do that by using our standard input function, password equals input, type your password and enter, right? And then it would prompt me and I would type it in, but then you could all see that, right? So there's another way, a more secure way to get passwords from user input, which is this using this getPass library. So as an alternative to the standard input function, I'm going to use this getPass library, and instead password will be getPass dot the getPass function password, right? So I'm going to run this, and now it is prompting me for my password, but you can see when I enter this in, it's allowing me to enter it securely. Okay, so I did that and that saved password. Now, if now the variable password is not protected. So if I output password right now, you could all see my password, right? But at least the method for inputting it is secure. So yeah, Python is not the best for security. Okay, then here's all the stuff I need to interact with the server. So I'm going to create a default context using this SSL library. So context, this is just a variable, an object that I'm going to pass in. Then with smtp lib.smtp, there's a lot of stuff here that I'm not going to explain right now. Well, most of it I don't know, but as server, here's the this server ehlo is like making initial contact with the server. This starts the TLS connection. This like verifies that you have this connection, and then you log in using your sender email and your password, which you've entered up here. Once you've logged in, then you can call the sendMail function, okay? And the sendMail, to send mail, you need your sender email, the receiver email, and the message in that order, right? So as with like most connectors, I have no idea what this is doing, right? I mean, I can guess, but basically, yeah, you're establishing a connection, you're logging in, and then you're interacting, some kind of a transaction, right? So what's important is if you were accessing a MySQL server, right, or something else, the line of code, you may not recognize the libraries or the functions, but the sequence of functions calls would be very similar, right? Because first you have to like establish a connection with the server, then you have to log into your account on that server, and then once you're logged in, then you do some whatever transaction you're going to do, right? So so that's the main that's all we have to understand about this. Okay, so I'm going to run this, and SSL is not this. Did I not? Oh, I didn't run this yet. Okay, run. I already did my password. I don't have to do that again. Okay, it's running, and I got an SMTP authentication error. Okay, so my code is fine. The problem is username and password not accepted. Learn more at here. Okay, so I've put a little note down here. This particular library that we're using, this smtlib and SSL, are pretty basic. Right? They're pretty basic libraries in Python. They aren't even, I mean, yeah, I didn't even have to download. They're part of the base package, actually. Right? They're not even part of like, you didn't even have to download them, right? So pretty basic. Python has much more advanced libraries for dealing with email. So Google kind of recognizes that like this super basic function is like trying to access the server, and it's saying you're too simple. So so this Google blocks sign-in attempts from apps which do not use modern security standards. You can, however, turn on or off the safety feature by going to the link below. Here's the link. So I'm going to temporarily, I'm going to go to this link. Let me see, change. Okay. Here for less secure app access for my Google account, some apps and devices, blah, blah, blah. Allow less secure apps is off right now. I'm going to turn it on. Okay. So just for now, to run this, I'm going to allow Google to accept kind of contact from, right? And it's, this is for the sending server, not the, so this is what you have to do for the sending account, not the receiving account. Okay, so it's on, and now I'm going to go back. I'm going to run this again. Okay, it did it. So let's look at my, first of all, let's look at my KIMEP email account, which was my sending account. And I'm going to go to, here's my and I'm going to go to my sent box. And where's my sent box? Here in my sent box, you can see this message was sent to Soljake, right? To soljake@gmail.com. The following people have birthdays today, right? And that was the message I sent. And I can open up my other account, my receiving account, and verify that I received it from the KIMEP account, right? The following people have birthdays today, right? So it's working. Okay, so notice that here it was sent by the KIMEP server. Notice that there's no header, there's no subject, right? It only has the body of the email. So this is this function send mail right here is a super basic function. It just allows you to send like a string. There's a more sophisticated function called it's called send message, and that actually allows you to send a message object, in which you can specify everything that you could possibly want to define in an email header, right? Like the SMTP server, like the from and to and the CC and the BCC and the title and all that stuff. You can manipulate all of that stuff and then send it, right? And it'd be much more sophisticated. Today I'm just using the super basic one. And then here's a link if you want to look at what send message, what options are included there. Okay, so step 2 was to send an email from Python to Gmail. So here's all the code for that. And now I'm just going to throw that in a function as well called send reminder. So for the send reminder, I'm not including this stuff to instantiate the server or to instantiate all of my account information. I'm just going to include this part here, which is when I actually want to send an email, right? So when I want to send an email, I just need to call this block of code. And what are all the variables that I'm passing in here? My SMT server is here. I need that. I need the port. I need sender email, receiver email, and the message and the password, right? So all of those things are going into this function as parameters, right? Okay, so now if I run that define that function, let me just double check. This is what my message is going to look like. Okay, I'm going to call that function now, the send reminder function. Call it. I did it, and I should have 2 birthday reminders now. Did it come yet? Did it send it yet? Sent. Yeah, now I've sent it twice, right? And have I received it? Maybe I didn't send it to spam. This one, this was 0 minutes ago. Oh, yeah, okay. Because I already looked at it. Yeah, so if you go down here, I've got here are the 2, right? 2. I had a bunch of other ones because I practiced earlier. So okay. Okay, so we've got that working. Okay, step 3 is let's create a function to check today's birthdays, right? So we have the list of birthdays. Some of them are today, some of them are not today, and we need to check which ones are today. So this is another helpful function, module, the time module. So this allows you to get the time. So time function, it will return like the year, the month, the date, the minute, the second, right? But then with this strf time, it allows you to to format some kind of a string that returns any combination of that data, right? So let's look at this function. Let's see what some of our options are. So Python strf time helps you to convert date and time and date time objects to a string. So you can use things like %y will just give you the year, %lowercase m will give you the month, %d gives you the day. You can, if you write like, say this, %h colon %m it'll actually interject like colons. So the HMS is hour, minute, and second, right? So if we use this string here, I'll just use this string here to show you. Right, this gives you the date, like the month, the day, the year, the hour, the minute, and the second, right? And this is, if I run it again, it'll do it in real time, right? So now it's 41 seconds. Now it's 46 seconds, right? And you can format these any way you want. So you could like move these around. Let's say we want the year, the month, the date, like this. So right now we can switch it around, right? And take the comma out, right? So this is an extremely helpful function to, and it gives you in real time, like whatever, the time is now, this date. You can also use this function on, the current time, or you can use this on like prior date stamps to reformat like date time objects. Okay, but for us, we want the month and the date just in 4 numbers, because that's how we input them into our birthday file. Right? So today's month and date are 11/11. So I'm going to jump right into this function, check today's birthdays. So I'm going to enter the birthday list. Remember, the birthday list was contained these 3, and we call the today the time string with month and day. I'm going to print that. The flag is false. So this is, again, we're keeping track of state, right? So flag false here means we don't have any birthdays today, right? And then if we check and we find some, then I'll change the flag to true. But if we don't find any, the flag will stay false, right? So we're just using flag to keep track of state again, right? Whether we found birthdays or didn't find birthdays. Okay, so birthday today is an empty list. And then we've done this before, right? We're gonna iterate through the original list, search for birthdays that satisfy the criteria, right? Whose date is today. If we find them, we'll add them to this birthday today list. We'll append them, right? And we'll change the flag. So here for birthday and birthday list, if today is in birthday index 0. So what is this line doing? What is today and what is birthday 0? Yeah, so today should be this 11/11. And then what's b-day 0, index 0? Yeah, so it's the first element in, so this is birthday list, right? It's a list of lists. So for each item in this list each item in birthday list is a list containing 3 elements, the first of which is the birthday, the second is the first name, the third is the last name. So for each item in birthday list, we want to look at the first of 3 elements and see, is that the same as today, right? And if it is, then that means that birthday is today, right? So if today is in birthday, so I'm using in, but I could also use equals, right? Or same. So, but I can also use in, because it'll give me the same thing. And if it is in, then birthday today, I will append that particular birthday, and I will change the flag to true. And then once we've iterated through there, if the flag is still true, so here, this is one reason why flag is so nice, because remember, the if statement just evaluates Booleans, right? So if you have a Boolean variable which is tracking the state, all you have to do is write if that flag, right? And then if the flag is true, the if will go into the if. If not, it'll go into the else, right? So if true, that means we did have a birthday, at least one birthday today, and then the message will be we're going to use the craft message function. We'll call the craft message function. And notice I'm not passing in the full birthday list, the craft message now, right? I'm passing in birthday today, which is the subset of birthdays which are today, right? It's a subset of names in the list who have birthdays today. So that means our craft message, the message that we craft is only going to say, it's only going to mention Leo and Theodore and not Carl. And then it'll print the message for us. If flag is false, that means we didn't have any birthdays today, right? And then we'll just print that out. And then it'll return the flag. So, okay, so run this function. And then I'll call the function, check today's birthday. We'll pass in the full birthday list here. And we'll call this, I'll capture this flag, right? It throws a flag. I'll call that birthday today flag. I don't think, the way that I wrote the class, I don't think I actually need it, but we'll just do it and then we'll print the flag out. So if we run that, this 1111 comes from here inside the function where we printed out today's date, right? That's where that comes from. This comes from here where we printed the message after we created it. And you see that Carl Sagan is not on the list. Right? And then this true comes from here. After we called the function, it returned true, and we're returning that value. So, okay, so this function's working. All right, so lastly, we're going to put all of these functions into one class. Right? So I'm going to create a birthday reminder class to encapsulate and manage everything. So here, class birthday reminder, this is where I'm going to put my email server variables. I'm going to put in port 587, the server, the sender email, the receiver email, and password. I'm not going to write in here, right? I'm just going to leave it blank. And then for birthday variables, I just have the file name of the birthday file and an empty birthday list. Right? So the constructor method needs to do two things, right? In order to get this class ready to run. When I call the class, remember this space init space is the method that is called when you instantiate this class. So when we instantiate the class, we need to do two things. Number one, we have to get the password from the user because we didn't include it here. And secondly, we need to import the birthdays from this file, right? So, so here I use the get pass. This is the same code that I had before. The only difference is I have to put self in front of password because password is an object. Is a variable in this class, right? And then self birthday list, that's this empty list here, is going to be whatever import. We're going to call the function import birthdays, and return the list of birth, which opens the file and grabs all the birthdays and exports them to the list, right? Notice I also had to put self in front of this function, import birthdays. Why? Because all these functions now, import birthdays is now a function here defined in the class. So any variables, anytime I'm using a variable or a function inside of this class, I have to preface it with self dot, right? To mean I want the function that's inside of this class and not some other function that I defined earlier, right? So, and also I'm inputting file name, and I have to put self in front of that because that file name is coming from here, right? So, And notice import birthdays too, I had to tweak the function a little bit. I had to add self in the function call, right? But everything else is the same. This is inputting the file name and returning the birthday list. So it's the same thing. It's opening up the file, reading all the lines, splitting them. Oh, but I have to add that one. To clean off those carriage returns. Okay. So my instantiating function is going to get my password. It's going to populate the birthday list, and it will confirm that the birthday list has been loaded by printing it out. Right? So let's run this. So if we call the class, it should prompt me for the password and confirm that the list has been uploaded. So let's run this. That's my password again. Okay, confirming birthday list has been loaded, and this is the list that was in our file, right? So it has all the server information. It has my password and it has the birthday list, right? So now we want to check birthdays. So we've used this function import birthdays to import it. Now check birthdays, it's gonna do everything that we did before. It's gonna find out what today's date is, set the flag as false, create an empty list. Then we're gonna go through the birthday list and check if the date matches today. If so, we're gonna append this list of birthdays today and change the flag to true. Then we're going to call this craft message, right? Actually, this should be self as well. Yeah. On today's birthdays, we'll save that as a message. We'll print it out. Now, the one thing that's different here is I'm actually going to have this function then send out the reminder, right? So if we have birthdays today, we'll do two things. We'll craft the message, and then we'll just go ahead and send the email out, right? But that's only in this if flag is true. Right? And so if the flag is true and we have a message to send, then I'll say we're sending the email reminder now, and I'll call the send reminder function, which I've saved down here. So here's a send reminder function. Here's the craft message function that we're calling here and here. And then once it sends their email, then I'll print out birthday reminder email was successfully sent, right? If flag is false and we didn't have any birthdays, it'll just end by printing out no birthdays today. Right? And I got rid of that flag because we don't need it. So, okay, so let's run this and see. Okay, and then we'll check birthdays today. Okay, so the following people have birthdays today: Leonardo DiCaprio, Fyodor Dostoevsky, sending the email reminder now. And the fact that this was printed means it was successful, right? Because that happens after the send reminder. So if an error had been thrown out here, we would have seen an error, and then this would not have printed, right? So sometimes I like to have these, especially when I'm error checking, to print something like, hey, I'm about to do something, do it, and then print something, hey, it's finished, right? And that way I know, like, yeah, I got right to that step, and then it's doing this step, and then it did it, right? So this is kind of like, by putting output, like print messages before and after a sensitive function, you can double check, you can make sure like it's actually happening. Okay, and then if I go to my email, yep, I got one sent in 3:51. So the following people have birthdays today. Okay. Let's just double check. let's just error check if we didn't have birthdays today, right? And we only have Carl Sagan here. So if I run this, is it going to send an email or not? I just changed my birthday file, but if I run this function, check today's birthdays, is it going to send an email or not?
What will send no birthdays to be?
What's that?
It will send no birthdays. No.
So the question is, this birthday list, right, has been updated. This birthday list was updated at what point? Is it updated when we instantiate the class, or was it updated when we call that function check today's birthdays? What's that? It's here. So when we instantiate the class, right, by doing like this, right, when we call the class and we save it as something, there we did two things. We get the password and we import the birthdays, and we save those into birthday lists, right? That's when we populate birthday lists, is when we instantiate the class. So when we run this check today's birthdays, it's using it, right? We're not passing in a new birthday list. It's just calling the internal copy of the birthday list that's already been saved, right? And this function, nothing in this function is going to double check whether the file's been updated or not, right? So if I call this function again, even after I change the birthday file, it'll still send out the email with Leo and Theodore because it doesn't know we've changed the file, right? So I can do it again, sending an email reminder now. Birthday email was successfully sent. It's 3:55. Time is 3:55. And I have a new email here, right? 3:55. Same one, right? So if we change the file, then we actually, at least the way that we've made this class, we have to go reinstantiate the class, right? So I'll reinstantiate. Right, and now Carl Sagan's the only one on the list, right? And now if I run this, no birthdays today, right? So, okay, well, this is what I wanted to show you today. I think initially I was thinking, even more exciting stuff like go to a website, check if it's been updated or not, and then send the email. And I realized, like, even kind of crafting a message and sending a message to email, like that's a big step, right? And then if you're gonna, the other part of the reminder, if you're gonna go out into the web, right, you go out into the internet and check some websites, web scraping, and compare values from before or something, that's like another kind of, I think if we had another session, maybe some using like the requests library and Beautiful Soup to like download web pages and like automate this kind of web scraping text mining process is fun. And then you can combine that with these reminders, right? And you could kind of automate like, oh, maybe your RSS feed, maybe your favorite podcast, just like another episode got posted and you can send a reminder to yourself, or maybe somebody, maybe you have like a calendar that you share with somebody else, and maybe they just updated, maybe they just added some event to your calendar, right? And you could have, you could send a message to your cell phone or to your WhatsApp or something, right? So like just thinking about what you want to connect, right? What you can check and what you connect, and there's a lot of like fun ways to kind of automate your life while kind of learning how to pipe into different websites. Or I think that's where Python is like especially useful. You can see like Python is not the best language for sophisticated kind of software design, right? Because the way that like these objects, right, right? Java or C++ have much better options for security, for securing your class objects and not allowing people to access the variables that are inside a class without you giving them permission, right? So like the security is better. There's several, I think there's several aspects to Java and C++ that make them better for software design. What Python is good for is this kind of quick and dirty, you know, connect to here, connect to there, link these two things, go here, grab that data, format it, send it off somewhere else, right? It's one of the reasons why Python is just so popular and so persistent, you know, even as like software changes and you know, JavaScript changes and all these kind of like downstream you know, web developing languages are all getting more sophisticated and changing. One of the reasons why Python sticks around is because it's like that kind of donkey, you know, it's like a mule of a language that just kind of like sits between everything else and does everything that all those other languages can't do, right? And kind of interacts with everything, right? So that's kind of where Python is really shines, right? And if you get into any one specific application, for example, like data analysis, right, or you know, web development or data management, or any time that you kind of start to narrow the scope of your task, there's probably a better language out there to do it than Python, right? But Python still remains as this kind of all-purpose, you know, workhorse to run around and like fill in the gaps that all these other languages like can't fill, right? So, okay, let's. I'm going to end the recording here for session 5, and then let's take about a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and start the Python 102 skills test.